I love you, so I must tell you this about men. We don't work how you think we work. But if you understand what makes us tick, then you'll receive more from men than other women could ever dream of. This video is going to be the bridge that takes you to that level of expert understanding. We're even going to go through social media posts with real comments from real men, so you know for a fact it's not just me saying it. And by the end of this video, you'll have such a detailed understanding about men's inner workings that you'll never be confused by a man ever again. To start off, I'm gonna say the craziest thing you've ever heard. Men absolutely love it when you curse them out, pull up to their house uninvited, and send them 100 angry texts. Don't believe me? We're gonna watch an Instagram video together, and I'm gonna show you the comments that real men are making underneath that Instagram video themselves. Let's watch.
It's hard for you to stay here and talk to me.
Drive, turn the car and drive the car. Drive the car.
I just want you to stay here.
Drive.
I don't think she's going nowhere, gay.
Drive, fast, hurry up.
Bro, I ain't finna.
Move. Keep trying to.
Bro,
Why are you trying to shove yourself in here?
watch out, bro.
And she got the gas.
What you just watched was a woman who didn't want her man to leave her, so she strapped herself to a moving car with the door open, hanging on to that man so she wouldn't fall out of the car. Mind you, this is all happening in front of his friends who are driving the car. Here's the craziest part of what you're watching. You're probably thinking, oh my God, she's insane. I would never want to be around someone like that. But let me show you the comments that the men are making on that same video. I know that cat good. That comment has over 4,000 likes. Here's another comment. If she don't act like this, I don't want her. That comment has over 1,000 likes. Another comment. I already love her. This is my type. So now you might be thinking, well, that's just one video, and some guys are weird, taking it the wrong way. That's not how most men think. To which I'll respond, here is Exhibit B.
I needed to get away from you. I want to know how the you found me.
I'll always find you. I'll always find you no matter what, Blake. I will always find you. You can go to China and guess who's gonna find you? Me.
In this video, a woman has seemed to unexpectedly pull up on a man and found him, even though she definitely shouldn't have been able to find him. So clearly she's done some sort of detective work, because the man is shocked that she would even be able to locate him, which probably means she's been blocked everywhere, but she still found a way. And how are the men responding to this video in the comments? Well, let's take a look. The #1 comment says, worst part is she probably got a snapper on her. For those of you that don't know what that terminology means, it's referring to having the tightest, wettest grip that a woman can possibly have in between her legs. By the way, that single comment has over 37,000 likes. This comment right here is literally a man saying, this is the type of love I want. Over 6,000 likes on that one. Let's just rapid fire a few more comments. The head probably so fire. Blake needs to understand he will miss this one day. We all secretly love the crazy ones. Quit playing, y'all know you did. So why have I shown you this? Because the biggest mistake you'll ever make is thinking that going crazy on a guy is teaching him to stop doing that particular behavior or action because of how much it upsets you. But as we can clearly see, when you go crazy on a man, it actually communicates to him that he needs to continue doing that behavior. You reinforce the idea that you are the most important and attractive to me when you do this particular behavior. Men actually believe that you going crazy on them, or crashing out on them as the kids would say, is a sign that you are a more pleasurable partner because of your insanity. And because I love you, okay? I have to tell you to stop crashing out on men, stop going crazy on them, stop being furious with them. When you want to show a man that you want him to stop a particular behavior, you must act as if they don't exist in your life. Not that you're purposely trying to ignore them, but that you can't even be bothered to recognize when they're absent. For example, when he sends you a message after 3 days of not speaking to you, I want your response to be, "Oh, it's been 3 days since we last spoke? No way it's been that long. Are you sure it's been 3 days?" Trust me, that's the only way men actually understand that whatever behavior they were doing at the time of your indifference must change. This next one is gonna hit a lot of you right in the gut. Men become the most obsessed with whoever you are the most obsessed with. And make no mistake about it, it's very easy to make the most attractive woman in your relationship a woman that is not you. How does this even happen? Well, let's say, for example, you don't like your man's coworker named Sarah. When you went to your man's work party, you noticed Sarah wears very revealing dresses. And because you know your man, you know Sarah is your man's type. So now every time your man comes home from work, you're always trying to see if he's had a conversation with Sarah, if he's seen Sarah, if him and Sarah have been flirting with each other, or if he has a crush on Sarah. Here's the thing though, when your man is with Sarah, Sarah talks about Sarah. When your man is with you though, you also talk about Sarah. And because you feel Sarah is your biggest threat, you ask a lot of questions about Sarah. And so as he's answering your questions, your man is constantly thinking about Sarah all day and all night. Now all of a sudden, the woman who was just another coworker becomes interesting. Maybe your man never noticed her ass until you mention how big it is, because she's always wearing those extremely tight dresses at those work parties. So now when your man goes to work and he sees Sarah, he thinks to himself, Sarah's ass is kind of fat. Maybe my girlfriend was right. Sarah is kind of a baddie. And just that fast, your worst nightmare has actually come true. Because since you're so obsessed with Sarah, your man has just followed suit, and his obsession and focus has been adjusted to also being on Sarah. Men will always mirror what you focus on and what you become obsessed with. When you're obsessed with you and what you have going on and what you're doing with your life and all the places that you're going, your man will in turn follow your lead and become just as obsessed with you as you are obsessed with yourself. The queen does not concern herself with peasants. The peasants are the ones who gossip about the queen. Remember that. Now let's talk about compliments, something that can be easily confused. But what I want you to understand is men do not value compliments that are given towards their appearance. Men value compliments that are tied to their actions and their accomplishments. For example, you meet a guy and you tell him, "Oh, wow, you're so tall. You're so handsome with such big muscles. I just love it." That compliment doesn't really actually do anything for him emotionally. What it might do is make him feel like he doesn't need to do any work for you to get access to you, since you already are putting him on a pedestal. If anything, a compliment like that will make him less likely to want to put an effort into a relationship with you specifically. But when you allow him to take action for you and you compliment the actions he's taking for you, that's a much better situation. It'll be much more of a meaningful compliment because he knows that he's earned it through the things that he's actually doing for you. For example, if that same man buys you a drink or walks you to your car, you can now mention what a kind gesture it is, how it was so nice of him to do something like that for you, and be specific with how you appreciate the drink. It's your favorite drink of all time, or how sweet of him it was to make sure you're safe and walk you to your car like a true gentleman would, and how much you love and appreciate that. Or let's say you're super early in the dating stages and you compliment a guy's accomplishments in life. For example, it must have been really challenging for you to get that manager role. I'm sure you had to do so much of the dirty work for your bosses and corporate to finally recognize how much work you were putting in and contributing to give you that promotion. Finally, it must take an extremely intelligent person to be able to even fit into a manager role like that at that corporation. These are the type of compliments that men eat up, because these type of compliments are earned. They're tied to a man's ability to successfully take action, which in turn speaks to his masculine desire to feel like a masculine man. Speaking of desire, let's talk about this really important concept as it relates to desire. It's very easy to make the mistake that desire is like an on and off switch, meaning if a man desires you and the switch is on, well, he wants you, he wants to get married to you. And if a man doesn't desire you and the switch is off, well, then he doesn't give a damn about you. But the reality of it is, desire is much more like a scale, specifically like a percentage scale, meaning a man's desire for you can be anywhere between 1% and 100%. And very importantly on that scale, there is a certain threshold where if a man desires you above that threshold, then he'll be willing to take action on his desire for you. So to make this simple and for you to be able to visualize, let's just imagine hypothetically that this threshold sits at 75% on this 1 to 100 scale. That means if a man desires you less than the 75%, even though he likes you, even though he flirts with you, and even though he does some things to show his interest in you, because his desire for you is below that 75% threshold, he still doesn't take action on his desire for you by asking you out on a romantic date. Oppositely, if that man's desire for you is over the 75% threshold and he doesn't just flirt with you every now and again, he actually acts on his desire for you by asking you out on a romantic date for the purpose of building a serious relationship with you intentionally. The reason I want to make it clear is because a lot of women get confused with a man showing some interest, but he doesn't seem to actually want to do anything about it. And then you can get stuck in this loop of wondering when he's actually going to do something about his interest. So the women are essentially waiting for the time in which he'll act on his desire, but because his desire doesn't reach that threshold, he never does anything but casually flirting, casually showing small amounts of interest every now and again. And as a woman, you can't mess around and waste years of your life in this limbo state with a man you're waiting on to finally make a move. I love you, so I have to tell you that hope is not an emotion. It's a drug. What I mean by that is hope is the favorite drug of choice that men will use in order to keep you invested in them. Whether it be hope that eventually he's gonna wanna be in a relationship with you, or hope that he's gonna break up with his current girlfriend or wife to be with you instead, or even hope that the guy who isn't what you want right now in a man will eventually change his ways and become what you want in the future. Men understand how powerful hope can be in terms of keeping you in a position where they can continue to extract from you. In some cases, they're looking to extract physical intimacy. In other cases, they're looking to extract girlfriend treatment. And in some cases, it's just all of the above. And they want to completely suck your energy dry. But they know that they can't do that unless you're a willing participant. And the best way to make you a willing participant is to not have you fixated on what's currently happening in your relationship with him, but on what could happen at some point down the road if you continue investing in this relationship. Because they know if you focus too much of your attention on what's currently happening, then you'll realize that this relationship doesn't serve you and you're being taken advantage of. But if your mind is constantly on the future, and specifically what the future could look like, then it's a lot easier for him to control you in the present tense, because your mind isn't operating in the present tense. Your mind is operating in the future tense. So as you're focused on the things that will eventually change, he uses that hope in drug form to paralyze you emotionally to what's happening in real life and in your real relationship at this current moment. It's so important that on an ongoing basis, you consistently reevaluate if the things you expect from a man in a relationship are currently happening as of right now. Even if that man has done things that are amazing in the past, but he's begun this new pattern of not doing those things anymore, it's important to recognize that and reevaluate if this relationship is still for you based on how he's treating you as of right now. If you find yourself in a position where a man is not treating you right, you don't owe it to him to stay simply because of what might happen at some point in the future. Let me tell you this because I love you. Men love to get you to focus on fun and short-term pleasure. Why? Because getting you to focus on short-term pleasure is the easiest way to manipulate you. When you're mentally focused on your short-term pleasure, you make decisions for your short-term happiness. But here's the thing, your short-term happiness doesn't take into account how you're gonna feel in the future when you have to face the consequences of whatever decision you're making in the moment. For example, when he wraps you up in his love bombing and he tells you on the very first date that he's never felt this way about anyone else that he's ever met before, it feels very fantastical. You start to get this rush of emotion that you're finally receiving the fairy tale that you've always wanted. And then he recommends that you guys go back to his place to end the night and drink some wine, and it feels right in the moment. And then you get to his place and he continues the love bombing. You get swept up and overwhelmed with all of this amazing, intense emotion. At this point, your fun, short-term happiness tells you just go with the flow, that your attraction to each other is so strong and so powerful that the most fun thing you can possibly do at this moment, given your current state of desire, is to act on this burning, intense, passionate desire that you feel between you and this man. What fun is not factoring in though is how you're gonna feel 2 days from now after you sleep with him in this intense moment. And then afterwards, he doesn't text you for a whole day. Fun doesn't factor in how ashamed you'll feel about sleeping with him when you look back on how all of those words were literally designed to convince you that you were ready for something that you really weren't ready for. This is why I say, for you as a woman, actual fun is being taken seriously by a guy who will prioritize you and your happiness. Real fun is being with a man who wants to build an emotional, spiritual, and mental connection with you alongside the physical. Because that type of fun is when you fulfill your long-term happiness, which is the only time you'll truly feel happy in a relationship with a man. I love you, so I have to tell you that sex is a superpower that a lot of women don't even bother to embrace with men outside of the bedroom. I want you to know that if you start understanding sex as a way to speak a man's language, as opposed to thinking of sex like an act, it will change the way you interact with men. For example, if you want a particular dress, don't come to him and say, hey, you better buy me this dress because I want it. Come to him and say, I would love to wear this sexy dress just for you. I know how much you love seeing me in black, and I also know how much you love seeing me wear leather. And this is a really sexy black leather dress that I've seen online that I would love to model just for you. And when we come back home, it'll be perfect for you to have easy access to without me even having to take it off. Let me tell you something right now. The second way of going about it makes me want to ask you, where is the link to the dress and how can we get it shipped faster than ASAP to our address? Because you were smart enough to not make getting this dress about what you want. You made getting this dress about what I secretly want. Because what I secretly want as a man is for my beautiful, attractive woman to seduce me. I want your sex appeal to put me in a trance and hypnotize me into doing whatever it is that you want me to do. But you have to be good at playing that role. You have to be confident in playing that role. You also have to understand what your man actually desires to play that role well enough that when you're being seductive, you're speaking to his actual desires. You gotta get creative with how you add sex appeal to the things that you've asked for. Because the better you are at doing that, the easier it will be for you to seduce him into making him feel like he's the one that desires to do that thing for you just as much. Our next point, attention, can be a very slippery slope because many women don't understand that there are different forms of attention that they can receive from men. And I have to tell you, sometimes men will give you low quality attention and sometimes men will give you high quality attention. Low quality attention is when a man is giving you sexual attention simply because he wants to be able to get inside you. High quality attention is when a man is giving you attention, but for the purpose of building a serious relationship with you. Now, sometimes these can kind of feel like the same thing because a guy might use similar terminology, but this is why it's so important to allow time to weed out the low quality attention from the high quality attention. Because low quality attention can disguise itself as high quality attention if you only give it a couple of days. But when you give low quality attention a couple of months, and you force low quality attention to be consistent on an ongoing basis for months, it gets impossible to continue giving a woman that kind of low quality attention no matter how well they want to disguise it. Because deep down, when men are giving you low quality attention, they know it's low quality attention. They also know it's very emotionally and energy draining. They also know it's very emotionally and energy draining to give a woman low quality attention on an ongoing basis with no results. So eventually, they get tired of giving you low quality attention if their goal was to never do anything more than that, which is why I emphasize never be mesmerized by the type of attention a man will give you at the very beginning. Because at the very beginning, it's nearly impossible to differentiate the low quality attention from the high quality attention. You literally have to wait it out until the excitement of you being shiny and new wears off to see whether the attention is truly low quality or high quality. For this next truth, I'm going to be very real with you. A lot of your problems with men can be solved by selecting the right one. And I have to call you out on this because I see so many women be extremely upset about how they're being treated in their relationship. But the root of their issue, the real root of their issue, was choosing to be in a relationship with the wrong man. You must always give men the opportunity to select themselves in your life. What I mean by a man selecting himself is him deciding that because he desires you and desires to be in a relationship with you, that he's gonna take action on his desire and do things for the purpose of intentionally building a relationship with you specifically. When a man decides for himself that you're the person that he wants to build with, it's so much easier to hold him accountable, to get him to make adjustments, and to have him prioritize your happiness. And it's not because you're any more attractive or seductive. It's simply because you have selected a man who first selected himself in your life as someone who desired you. The key is not allowing his words to convince you that he has selected himself in your life. You only allow his actions to show you that he selected himself in your life. Then, from the men who have selected themselves in your life, you choose based on who you are the most attracted to or who is the most in alignment with you. When men select themselves in your life, they treat you so much better. And the women that understand how important this is end up in relationships that they don't have to work so hard in. They end up with men that they don't need to tell things to multiple times over and over again and beg for things constantly. They end up in a much more feminine position because they don't have to chase their man to keep the relationship afloat. I love you so much, I have to tell you this as well. How a man does his life will tell you everything you need to know about how he'll do a relationship with you. If you're ever looking for a sign of whether or not the guy is right or wrong for you, all you need to do is look at how he lives his own life and you'll get all the answers that you could possibly need. For example, if you want to know if the man that you're dating will keep his promises to you, just look at his life and see if he keeps his promises to himself. When he says he wants to become a multi-millionaire, does he practice the habits that would help him become a millionaire? Is he consistent and disciplined with his lifestyle and schedule? Or is he talking about becoming a millionaire while sitting in front of the TV and playing video games every single day? Because that's not keeping a promise to yourself of what you want in your own life and what you want to become. So, of course, a man who breaks promises to himself will break promises to you just as easily. If you want to know if a man will be intentional with you, look at how intentional he is with his own life. I can guarantee you, a man who has no plan for himself has absolutely no plan for you whatsoever. Because if a man doesn't have the skill to approach his own life in a particular way, there's no chance he'll develop that skill set magically because he gets into a relationship with you.